All right, Black Goose family, let me make sure everything is set up. You already know how we start this. Give a brother a couple minutes, you know what I'm saying? Let everything get settled. Let everything get nice. Me personally on this end, I want to make sure everything sounds good for y'all. I'm doing it a little bit different, you know what I'm saying? Just give me a little minute, then we're going to get right to the topics. If y'all read what the title says, you already know we got some interesting things to discuss today. So y'all just go ahead and rock with me for a little bit. Let me make sure the sound good, okay? All right, I like the sound. The sound sounds good over on my end. Okay. All right, family, what's good with it? We here. I like how everything's sounding. I like how it's presented. I don't have any complaints. So, let's go ahead and start with the stream. If y'all can see the title, it says Vasyl Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez, Gervonta Davis, Tevin Farmer, who is the real king? We can say of the 130/135 division. We talking numbers, okay? This is going to be a new series of mine, all right? At first, it started with Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, who is the real king of the heavyweight division. I like to talk numbers when we talk about those type of things. I don't like to bring emotion into it because obviously emotion is not factual. It's just how you're feeling. That's not what we're talking here. We're talking numbers because numbers at the end of the day can give us a better idea, or at least a realistic idea of who actually has the control in their weight class division, okay? And I don't care if you're coming at me from this side, if you're coming at me from this side. If you don't have legitimate numbers, sources to back up what you were telling me, I most likely won't listen, or at the very least, I won't respect where you're coming from, and I will dispute it. But what we're talking about right here, obviously, let me actually, before we even get into all that, I'm gonna play this clip for y'all. I want y'all to play this clip because I was taught when you are going to write an essay, you want to have a premise, or you want to, you know what I'm saying, you want to give them an idea of what you're going to be talking about. So check this out. Hopefully it's not too loud. Remember, everything is a work in progress, family, so just work with me.
Um, and I think the best is yet to come from Gervonta. He's learning, getting better and better, and that's which is scary. And still, right now, I consider him the most exciting fighter in the entire sport. And again, the media will hear me say it, and I'll say it over and over and over again. Gervonta Davis in a few years will be the biggest star in the entire sport. Like he's
All right, so that's all I want to show from there, obviously, because I don't want to get flagged. This is coming from Boxing World Weekly, their YouTube channel. Go and subscribe to see the whole entire interview. Obviously, that's Leonard Ellaby. He is one of the guys that is part of the money team. He's over Gervonta Davis when it comes to his management team. We've heard him many times say that Gervonta Davis is going to be the next big thing. There he is again, basically reiterating it. This was in April 25th of 2018. Let's go ahead and get away from that now. I just wanted to show you guys that because I just wanted to set this entire live stream up. Remember, if you guys are in the live stream, go ahead and drop what you guys are thinking, comments, anything like that. This is an open debate. So I want to hear what you guys think about. As you can see, I have an article pulled up from a previous video I did because obviously we're talking numbers. So we're going to talk numbers when it comes to all of these fighters. Why I believe, and I'm just going to state it right here because this whole entire point of this stream right here when we're talking numbers is for me to back up what I am stating. Okay, this is not a thesis. This is actually what is, in my opinion. So I guess you could call it a thesis still. So, it is a thesis, so I'm going to let you guys know. I believe Vasyl Lomachenko is the top of the division. He's the guy that everyone is gunning for. Obviously, that's something that it's not new, right? It isn't new, but when it comes to boxing promoters, when you have someone that's coming up in the ranks and you want them to take Lomachenko's spot, you want to promote them as if they are already bigger than them, right? Because that's how you play the game. You know what I'm saying? It's all part of the business. But if you want to look at things realistically, Lomachenko is the top dog, and you have three young guns coming to get him, right? You have Gervonta Davis, you have Tevin Farmer, and then you also have Teofimo Lopez. Now, some would also throw Devin Haney in there. I wanted to throw Devin Haney in there. I couldn't throw Devin Haney in there simply because he's with DAZN. DAZN makes it very hard to find their numbers because they are subscription based. So it's hard for me to find his numbers as well, as it's hard for me to find his purse. Obviously, when he did sign his contract with DAZN, it was reported that it was, you know what I'm saying? It was in about, like, I think the 50 mil range. I may be wrong, but I'm not even going to speak more on that because that's not. I don't have anything to back me up when I'm talking about that. So I went ahead and left Devin Haney out there, even though I am aware that Devin Haney is one of the up and comers coming up. But at the same time, if you want to be realistic, as of now, he's really not in the same ballpark as these guys that I'm talking about. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so this is what we're gonna start off with. Gervonta Davis Gamboa peaked at 604K viewers on Showtime across. Okay, so it had an average audience of 577,000 and it peaked at 604. So in reality, there was an average of 577,000 watching Davis versus Gamboa. Okay, so if you guys saw my last video, you already know that. So we're gonna go ahead and go on to this one. I've reported this as well. Teofimo Lopez and Crawford brought in huge ratings when they fought. Terrence Crawford in his last fight, he was the main event. Teofimo Lopez was the co-main event. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about Teofimo, okay? So check this. According to Mike Coppinger, Teofimo had a peak average of 1.429 million viewers. Okay? A peak average of 1.429 million viewers. Now, we don't know the average viewing number of the actual fight, but for the peak to be 1.4 is very impressive. Now, the peak for Crawford versus Velasquez, that's the main event, was 1.5 million. So you have to have the idea that maybe the average number of people watching that Lopez versus Comey fight had to be at least 1 million, right? And it was a fast fight, so it carried over into the main event. Okay, so this is Teofimo's last fight. So we're talking 1.429 million viewers. Remember, this is also on a ESPN Plus, as it says right here. Last Saturday night on ESPN Plus. Gervonta Davis was on Showtime. So we're both talking app subscription based type platform that you would have to use in order to view these fights, unless you have cable. If you have cable, obviously you get Showtime if you have a certain type of package. So that kind of gives a plus when it comes to Gervonta Davis. So I want to talk about Lomachenko versus Luke Campbell. Okay, that was Lomachenko's last fight. I want to try to get the most recent fights. Obviously, that's different from the Davis Gamboa and Teofimo Lopez's versus Richard Comey, because when it comes to Lomachenko versus Luke Campbell, it was pay-per-view numbers. This is from the boxing forum at BoxingScene.com. My last source, by the way, was from BoxingNews24.com, and the Davis Gamboa was from Boxing Scene as well. So it says right here, Lomachenko versus Luke Campbell, the pay-per-view numbers. The fight only did 205K pay-per-view buys. He had a link below. It got removed. I'll tell you this, it's very hard to find numbers on certain events when it has to do with the zone. If they want the numbers out there, they put the numbers out there. If they don't, it's hard to find. So this is the best I have to show you when it comes to the numbers for Lomachenko versus Luke Campbell. I won't say that's not good numbers, okay? And some of you, if anyone who watches this, they might see this and they be like, okay, you're saying 205K pay-per-view buys isn't good numbers, when in comparison to Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz 2, when it was about 275K, you're saying that's good numbers. Yes, where I'm looking at it when it comes to the Luke Campbell versus Lomachenko, their price, when it comes to the price for that fight, Sky Sports, because the pay-per-view was in the UK, it's $19.95. But if it also showed on ESPN, that's a different thing, but I don't have that information, so we're going off of that. So we got $19.95 to about $80 for the Wilder Ortiz fight. So 275K is much better for Wilder Ortiz than 205 for Lomachenko and Luke Campbell, because we're talking about numbers, we're talking about money, we're talking about prices. So let me come over to something now. Obviously, pay-per-view numbers is something, it's hard to get a realistic comparison to the Davis Gamboa and the Comey and Lopez fight, simply because they were both free TV. We talk peak viewer numbers. So let's go ahead and come over to here. It's from boxing.com. Loma versus Pedraza averaged 2 million viewers, ranked second in 2018. Okay, so this was posted basically at the end of 2018. This was Loma's last fight, guys. Loma's last fight peaked, averaged at 2 million viewers. Okay, 2 million. That damn near speaks for itself. So once again, like I said, Loma is at the top. He's the guy everyone's gunning for. They want to take his throne. Obviously, most people know that. And now what we're establishing is basically the hierarchy between Gervonta, Tevin Farmer, and Teofimo Lopez. As of now, Teofimo Lopez has a slight edge over Gervonta Davis when we're talking about numbers, at least in their last fights. Who viewed it? Platforms matter, okay? It does. I'm not trying to give you a skewed idea of what's going on. I have no other option but to just present you the information that's here. Obviously, platforms matter. More people may be inclined to watch a boxing fight on ESPN Plus than they would Showtime, but at the same time, Showtime might be more accessible to people because maybe they have that cable with the extra package on it in comparison to those who have ESPN but they don't have the ESPN Plus, you know what I'm saying, app, you know what I'm saying? So there's all type of different variables that we could reason to make this and that and maybe to try and make it seem like, you know what I'm saying, just for excuses. But I'm not going to put that in. I'm just going to give you the numbers straight for what it is, and I'm going to let you guys decide from there. So you can see Loma is basically at the top of the game, averaging $2 million in his 2018 fight, okay? And it shows it too because he's the only one who's had a pay-per-view fight out of all the guys I'm talking about. So that kind of debt to everything right there. So let me go on to what I'm going to talk about now next, all right? So this is gonna be long string, anything like that. Shout out to you, Chandler, man. Appreciate you up in this bad boy rocking with us. But okay, so this ain't gonna be long or nothing like that. I'm just telling you guys, and I'm just letting you guys know the information that's presented to you in case you guys wasn't able to see it yourself. If you guys don't like the idea of trying to basically fathom, okay, this person got more views over this person got more views over this person. That's fine because, like I just said, numbers can be skewed based on what promotional management they are under, promotional company, or depending on where their fight was broadcasted, ESPN, Showtime, Fox Sports, DAZN, etc. So the next numbers that we can look at that'll give you a better idea of really who's the top guy is what they're getting paid, okay? And this is another reason why it was hard for me to put Devin Haney in, because you can't really find what he's getting paid. You can, you know, they have the report of the deal he signed, but it's not substantial enough for me to put him into this argument at this moment, okay? So as you can see, this is coming from Bloody Elbow Boxing. New wave of broadcast deals is leading to big paydays for many fighters. So this is talking about Tevin Farmer. As you can see, once again, I said DAZN is hard to get numbers on. Tevin Farmer is a DAZN guy, but you can't talk about these guys without talking about Tevin Farmer, even though you see that happen a lot, because I feel like DAZN is kind of, in my opinion, they're fucking up what they're doing with Tevin Farmer. I think at one point he was kind of in the bubble. A lot of people were talking about him versus Gervonta, but he's kind of fizzled away, right? And that has to do also with the rise of Teofimo Lopez, in my opinion. But that also has to do with DAZN mishandling him. You know what I'm saying? They continue to put him against guys that no one's interested in, and the more they keep doing that, the more he's going to fade basically into the back. And no one's going to care. You either got to put him in some type of controversy, you have to at least put him in some type of controversial fight, or you have to put him against guys that people know about. That's the only three options. You can't think just because he continues to fight and build up his record, people's going to pay attention. That's not how the game goes. You already know. You can be 10-0 and have more love and have more of a fan base than the dude who's 30-0. Maybe just, or you can be 11-1 just based off of a crazy fight that you had. That's what we're in now, day and age. What have you done for me lately? And if you haven't done anything that's substantial enough for me to turn my head and be like, bet, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna get lost in the wind. That comes everything. But the point I'm showing this article is because this is talking about basically when Tevin Farmer signed with Matchroom. So check this out. Okay, so when Farmer fought Agua, if y'all remember, he lost that fight in a very controversial decision. The decision got overturned because Agua got tested positive for roids. I have that fight actually on my channel. His official purse was $70,000. $70,000. His Matchroom contract that he signed was worth up to $2 million for 4 fights. One outlet even claims Farmer made roughly $700,000 for his TKO of James Tennyson in October. Okay, so he's getting paid big money, but let's just say for 4 fights, $2 million, okay? So that's what Tevin Farmer's making, and that's the only stats I have when it comes to Tevin Farmer. I don't have any views or anything like that. Tevin versus Gervonta, man, I've been wanting to see that for a long time, dog, but you know how that goes. You can see no one's even talking about that anymore. I would like to see Tevin versus Gervonta Davis, Teofimo Lopez versus Gervonta Davis. That would be two epic fights, but those are two hard fights for Davis. Those are two fights that kind of you don't want to take a chance on, right? But so we're basically saying 4 fights, $2 million for Tevin Farmer. That's big money. So let's look at Gervonta Davis earnings per fight, because I'll say this too. When it comes to Gervonta Davis's contract, it was very hard to find what he's making. Okay, at least the reported deal that he had with the money team, it was hard to find that. I had to go through some certain sources, things like that, and I found now his earnings per fight, which you see on the screen. Gervonta Davis versus Pedraza, and it dates as far as back as 2017. This is when it was his first match broadcasting on ESPN, as it says here. He earned $75,000. Okay, so that was very similar to what Tevin Farmer earned against Ogawaya. He earned $70,000, and I believe Tevin Farmer fought Ogawaya in 2018, if I am not mistaken. So similar time frames, if you want to think about it. Okay. So now Davis fights Fonseca. This is August 26, 2017. His price jumps up to $600,000. Okay. Now we had just talked about Tevin Farmer made reportedly $700,000 for his TKO of James Tennyson in October. That was as recently as this year. Or I'm sorry, 2018. Let me make sure that's right. That was as recently as 2018. Okay, so he made $700,000 in 2018. Gervonta Davis made $600,000 in 2017. We go to 2018 now. Okay, it drops. He earned $350,000. Okay, and by the time now you got to remember this is in 2018. So his drop. So as you can see now, if you really want to go by money now, if you want to go by those statistics, those numbers, then Tevin Farmer is technically a slight nudge ahead of Davis when it comes to what he's worth, or at least who he's with, who he signed under, what they feel he's worth, what they can get back. Because he signed with Matchroom in 2018, reportedly made $700,000 for that Henderson fight. Davis made $600,000 in 2017, but came in 2018 made $350,000. As you can see, he's only fighting one time a year, Gervonta Davis. So he's making a little bit less than Farmer at this point. Now we hit 2019, right? And this is the biggest payday Davis made. He made $1 million. You got to remember, this is the first time, as you can see here, in 2 years, that he's fought 2 times in a year, because he fought Gamboa at the end of this year. I don't have that purse, okay? So he probably made more in that purse than $1 million, or about $1 million. But for Gervonta Davis versus Ruiz, he made $1 million. Tevin Farmer made $2.3 million 4 fights, okay? If he made $1 million here, correct? He made $1 million for Gamboa. For 2019, he made about $2 million roughly. Tevin Farmer, he signed a 4-year contract, 4-fight contract, up to $2 million in 2018. His 4th fight, if you're judging off of that, has already been completed, and he's on to his next contract. So he roughly made more than Gervonta Davis, slightly, not much, but slightly, in 2019. Slightly. Not much, but slightly. Now I can't add in promotion. I can't add in sponsorship money, because I don't know any of that. Under the table money, I don't know any of that. I can just go off of what's been reported. And if you want to go off of what's been reported, Tevin Farmer's made slightly more money than Davis. So if you want to talk about numbers, because I don't have actual viewing numbers to look at for Farmer, because he's with DAZN. But if you want to look at what he's worth to their promotional company, to their management, Farmer's worth slightly more. Davis is gonna rise, obviously. Davis is, his ceiling is much higher than Farmer's, so he's going to end up making more money. But as of now, because all we're trying to do is we're just trying to figure out what is the hierarchy in this division. Okay, so you guys keep that in mind. So Vasyl Lomachenko, we've already established he's the top of the division. He's the top of the food chain. If you look here, he made $3.2 million against Anthony Corolla. All right, that was in I believe that, I don't even think that was pay-per-view. So I don't even have to really get into that much. But Um, Overall, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to, like I said, I don't want this to be too long. It's already been 19, 20 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and end this pretty soon. I've went through all my sources where the whole point of this discussion, debate, whatever you want to call it, is just for me to present you the facts, present you the numbers, and I'm gonna let you decide who do you think is really the top of the food chain. If y'all remember this video, that beginning video I showed y'all, you know what I'm saying? He was saying um, that Gervonta Davis is going to be the biggest star in 2 years. That was in 2018. We're in 2020 now, so he's predicting Davis to be the biggest star this year. But if you look at the numbers, it looks like, in my opinion, Teofimo Lopez he's looking like he's going to be the next big star of the 130, 135 division. The only way that doesn't happen is if somehow Lomachenko ridiculously embarrasses him in their fight and makes him look like basically like he doesn't even belong in the same ring. But if Lopez even gives him so much as a bloody nose, I feel like he's the guy. I actually hate that Lopez has to fight Lomachenko so early, because if you look at the numbers, Teofimo Lopez is projected to be a bigger star than Gervonta Davis. But unfortunately, he is under a promotional company that favors Lomachenko, where Davis is under a promotional company that favors him. That's why who you sign with, who supports you, who's your guy, it matters. A lot of people want to say Davis may be cherry picking, but at his age and what he plans to accomplish, all this is going to be, you know what I'm saying, 2020 in the background, because when he's 28, 29 years old and he's fighting the best of the best, no one's going to remember who he's fighting now. They're just going to remember the fact that he's undefeated, and that's a fact. So the fact that he's going to be able to do that, and Lopez in his position where he can do that, but because he's under a management promotional company that actually has someone like Lomachenko who they actually support more so, it can actually be derailed if he ends up losing to him, because they are fighting next. But if you look at the numbers, if you want to talk about the hierarchy, what's good with it, Mike Legos, man? What's good with it, man? Well, how you feeling about anything I'm talking about? Go ahead, drop your opinion. If you guys disagree with me any type of way, let me know. But if you're looking at what we're seeing in the numbers that I presented to y'all, it's obvious that Teofimo Lopez, he's actually has a better chance of being more of a pay-per-view star than Gervonta Davis. Obviously, Loma's number one. He's the guy that has that pay-per-view stardom. Everyone's chasing in the 130, 135 division. And then under him, I actually have Lopez next. I think Teofimo Lopez is the next guy that's coming up. Under him, you guys are going to think this is crazy, I have Tevin Farmer. I think it's Tevin Farmer. Even though the reason why no one talks about him a lot is because of where he's at. You know what I'm saying? He's over there with DAZN, so a lot of people don't really talk about him much. Also, the who he fights, it doesn't help him at all either. You know what I'm saying? And once again, I think Eddie Hearn is slowly allowing some of the hype around Farmer to slip away, and soon no one's going to be talking about Farmer. And then under him, I have Davis. So yes, I have Gervonta Davis last, but I think this year Gervonta Davis is going to make that leap over Tevin Farmer, because it seems like Tevin Farmer, he's not going to be able to have anyone to fight that anyone's going to care about, and it seems like Eddie Hearn isn't really doing what he needs to do to make sure Farmer is staying up there with those top guys, and I mean promotional wise. And then, you know, I think Teofimo Lopez, at the end of this year, Leonard Ellerbe may be right, because they're guiding his career right. Because if Lopez loses to Loma, and if Farmer keeps taking the fights he takes, and I know I didn't talk about Devin Haney's number, because I told y'all it's hard to find his numbers, but Devin Haney's coming off the shoulder surgery. Davis is going to leapfrog over everyone, and he's soon going to be the guy that everyone's going to be looking forward to, to see at that division. Or he's going to be the guy that everyone's going to be trying to, make a fight with. So that's my opinion. That's what I think is going to end up happening, just based off of everything that I presented to you guys, right? I may be wrong, because if Lopez beats Lomachenko, Lopez becomes the guy. Now, is that a possibility? I do believe it's a possibility, but it's going to be hard. I still think Teofimo Lopez is a little too young to fight Loma right now, but really that's the best ESPN has to offer when it comes to big fights, big pay-per-view fights, so I understand why they're making the fight so early. but I think they're gonna derail a young star for them by doing this. Just to save grace for Loma, and that's just my opinion. But once again, you know what I'm saying. I'm gonna do a quick recap of everything because I know a lot of y'all came in late. This is basically the end of the stream. I was just talking about numbers. I was talking about who is the top of the division when it comes to Loma, Gervonta Davis, when it comes to Tevin Farmer, and then when it comes to Teofimo Lopez. And we established that Lomachenko is number one. That's easy to establish. The reason why we established Lomachenko is number one because he's the only one to have a pay-per-view that did 205K pay-per-view buys. If you want to talk about the last pay-per-view against Luke Campbell, and then his last free television fight averaged 2 million viewers. Okay, as you can see, Gervonta Davis, his last fight against Gamboa peaked at 604, but averaged only about 577,000. Teofimo Lopez against Richard Comey, they peaked at about where's the number at? So I can give you guys right, 1.429 million viewers. So this, if you guys are late to this establishes the fact that Teofimo Lopez is probably the next big rising star, even though you may think Gervonta Davis is. You can see he peaked at 1.429 million viewers in comparison to the Gamboa Davis 604K. This was on ESPN Plus. This was on Showtime. And then I went over ahead and told you guys about the money that's being made by these guys so you guys can have another comparison. Farmer signed a $2 million contract, about $2 million for 4 fights with Matchroom in 2018. Gervonta Davis made his first million against Ruiz this year. We don't have the number from Gamboa yet, but most likely it's going to be about $1 million. So Davis made about roughly $2 million this year, while Farmer made roughly $2 million over the course of 2018 and 2019. So they made roughly the same. With incentives though, just because they said Farmer made about $700,000 for his TKO of James Tennyson, so apparently he got some type of extra incentive for his TKO win over James Tennyson. It looks like Farmer made a little bit more money than Davis, and then Vasyl Lomachenko made $3.2 million against his last free television fight. So that's just a summary of everything, guys. I just want to let you guys know. This is why I basically put the hierarchy of the division as Loma number one. The rising star, the real rising star is Teofimo Lopez. Don't let anyone tell you differently because the numbers support that. Under him is actually Tevin Farmer. And then last but not least is Gervonta Davis. We can't rank Devin Haney because it was hard to find really anything on Devin Haney right now, which makes sense. So that's how it goes. But remember this, even if you guys feel any type of way about that, because you might be a Gervonta Davis fan, I promise you 2020 is going to be a big year for Davis. Davis has a chance to leapfrog all of them because Lopez is going to be fighting Loma. And if Lopez loses to Loma, it's going to drop him down. And once again, I believe if Farmer fights nobodies the rest of this year and Davis continues to up his competition, he will basically take the place of Farmer as well as Lopez. So that's how I feel about it. I hope y'all enjoyed the stream. I appreciate all y'all being in here. If you are in here and you didn't drop a like or if you didn't subscribe, go ahead and do that. I appreciate that a lot. More of these are gonna come. If y'all do hop in here, man, feel free to just put your comments. Go ahead, let me know what y'all think about anything I'm saying.